So John Lynch really surprised us with what he said at his press conference about Trey Lance, but then Kyle Shanahan ended it with a huge crescendo. I mean, the tone they were striking was defensive, but then Kyle Shanahan went double, triple defensive, double secret defensive at the end of the press conference. Basically, he was pressed.
I'd like to read it.
Go ahead.
I'd like to read it. Read it. It was Jason Cole who asked the question, Iggy. Jason, God love you. You're a real journalist. Here's the question. With all due respect to John's answer about quarterbacks, when you go through a season and you have 4 quarterbacks hurt, does it cause you as a coach any hesitation? They're all different, but does it give you, as the person who draws up the plays, any hesitation on how you're protecting them, how they're handled, what you do with them? Now, it's very fair and polite.
And the correct answer is, of course. Of course it does.
Absolutely. You know what?
Of course it does.
I take responsibility.
Good, Jason, good question. Of course it does. I think about that every time I draw up a play, and I strive to get better in that. End of story. That's it.
Here's what he said, okay? As opposed to what Iggy just said. Yeah, I think when you ask that question that way, I understand. But I think if you looked at the injuries, common sense, like, you moron.
You freaking moron.
Freaking moron. Common sense would answer that question. How have they gotten hurt? I'm sorry Josh Johnson got a concussion when he hit the ground. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's the fourth one you're talking about. I'm sorry our quarterback got his elbow bent backward on a normal drop back pass. He's sorry, Iggy.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry on a drop back pass someone rolled up on Jimmy's ankle. And then we have a dual threat quarterback who got hurt running the ball. To throw all those 4 in that category, and then here's the capper offer. No quarterbacks got hurt when we had to hand it off the whole second half. So we can look into that. So that's what you call pure snot.
Yeah.
Snotty. In other words, if you're so smart, maybe we'll just hand off the ball all the time and never pass it anymore, and then the quarterbacks won't get hurt. But no, all your running backs will get hurt.
What Kyle Shanahan essentially said was, fuck you, Jason. I'm Kyle Shanahan, bitch. I'm Kyle Shanahan, bitch. Fuck you, Jason. That was his answer. And that was essentially his answer to every question at that press conference. Fuck you. I'm Kyle Shanahan, bitch. And he just said it in different ways. And then at the end, he got real explicit with it. But yeah, that's what he said.
But what I want to say is, I would say his answer about we'll run it all the time is what you call defensive.
Yeah,
very
I would
defensive.
Say so. Yeah.
And when people are defensive, they do it because they know their position is weak.
True. That's
you
true.
don't get defensive if you feel you have the high ground.
That's true.
So it shows he knows his position is weak.
That's correct.
Now I want to talk about West Point.
Okay.
I was out at one of my favorite restaurants last Friday night, and I when I go there, I always sit at the bar and eat at the bar. It's a great wine restaurant. And there's a guy who I know because he's there often as well. His name is Matt. He's 40 years old. He has his own company, and we chat. And he's a graduate of West Point. I don't know what his rank was, but he was an officer, and he served in Iraq. Okay? So this guy is, when you say so-and-so is a warrior, this guy's a warrior.
Yeah.
Not like a football player. This guy's a warrior.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to tell you, Lowell, every day what the message is at West Point. As an officer, you're responsible. Mm-hmm. You're responsible. He said, end of story. So I said, do you know what happened to the 49ers quarterback? He said, to tell you the truth, I don't follow sports very much. I said, may I tell you what happened? I think the coach called the wrong blocking scheme or a bad blocking scheme, and the quarterback got hurt and couldn't finish the game. Is the coach responsible? So he said, I have to ask a question first. How many layers were there between the coach and the quarterback? When the coach gave the order, was it directly to the quarterback, or were there layers of coaches between them? I said, no, there were no layers. It's from the coach to the quarterback. And the West Point graduate said, according to our ethos at West Point, the coach is 100% responsible. And the officers at West Point would have held him to it because there was no layers between him and the quarterback. I found that very interesting. And what this young man, Matt, was telling me was, I would take the responsibility, and I'd be proud to.
Right.
I wouldn't be snotty. I wouldn't be defensive. My ethos is to stand up, to be a stand-up guy. I did it. How can I do it better next time? Kyle would have flunked out of West Point.
Yeah, a true leader in battle on the football field wants that responsibility, embraces it. And it's like I have a show with the coach, and he was saying how Kyle really plays between OC and head coach. Sometimes you ask him a question, and he's the offensive coordinator for a minute. Sometimes he's the head coach. The offensive coordinator, this is how we talk about writing. The creative guy is 11 years old, and the editor is who you are. The offensive coordinator is 11 years old. He's the one who's creating stuff. He doesn't have to be responsible. He has to be creative and get touchdowns. The head coach is the guy who comes in and says, "No, we're not putting Tyler Kroft on Hassan Reddick today. Right. Good idea. We're not freaking doing that today because it's insane. But you're 11, so it's okay. I understand. It looked great on paper. We're not freaking doing that today." And that's the interplay there. And Kyle is basically 11 in terms of his leadership style, and there's no oversight here. And so when something happens, there's no one to say, I should have cut that one. Sorry, the editor should have came in and done something here. No, there is none.
And what Iggy is saying is Kyle is supposed to be both. He's supposed to be the 11-year-old writer and the whatever age he is editor, or he's supposed to be the 11-year-old coordinator and then be whatever his age is the coach. But he lets the 11-year-old run wild, and the coach doesn't say, sit in the corner.
Right. And what's funny is when you press him, he becomes the 11-year-old coordinator. And that way he entered this, it was like how a kid would talk to a spoiled kid who's not afraid of his parents, would talk to his parents when he's in trouble. Well, is it my fault that I broke the bike? Well, I mean, the biker got me sucked and the guy swerved. Is it my fault? It's like, first of all, don't talk to me like that. I'm your, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of Kyle. He almost like becomes a little whiny, like a teenager in these moments. Not
he sure
like
did.
A leader of men.
He sure did here. And Iggy,
whiny.
I don't respect it.
No. And you go back and watch John Lynch's face when Kyle's doing it. Lynch is like, let's wrap this up. This is bad. We're going off the rails. We're going off the rails. Yeah.
He winces. I didn't look at his face.
He winces. He winces.
Because he's a grown-up.
Yeah, like, dude, stop. Let's stop. We were doing a really good job of sort of saying what we wanted to say in a polite, respectful, professional way, and now this is, like, you're losing it, buddy. You're losing it.
Yeah, you're in the sandbox. He's now in the sandbox.
Yeah, let's stop. So
bad look. Now look, hold on. A lot of you are going to say Lowell and Iggy are Kyle haters. I don't hate Kyle. I've never met Kyle. I have no feelings about him one way or another. I think in certain ways he's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. I have no idea if he ever will be a great coach. But I certainly have lots of questions about his play calling and about his behavior. I do. And I do that as an outsider who's 77 years old, looking at this young man in his moment, in his crisis moment in the press conference, blew it, just as he's done it in the crisis moment of several games.
Yeah, and the way he blew it in this last game, to me, is amazing because I'm looking at Philly, and the way to beat Philly is you got to run the ball. They have the best pass rush, 70 sacks in the season, and really good corners. You got to run the ball and make it a slow, grinding game, a physical game, and the Niners had the personnel to do it. It's their identity. But Kyle decided he wanted to prove a point. He wanted to take shots down the field. He wanted to expose something, so he lost. Now we're looking at okay, Kansas City. Well, if they're going to win, and we're going to talk about the matchup in a bit, well, they're going to have to run the ball. Well, they're not built to run the ball like the Niners were built to beat the Eagles, but Kyle had his own idea of what they needed to do to win the game, and he got them beat. And it was funny, the week before, he did the same stupid stuff against Dallas. He tried to come out throwing, didn't work, and Juszczyk and a bunch of vets had to go up to a mid-game and be like, hey, McFly, can we run the ball, please? And they did, and they won. Now, they lost against the Eagles before Juszczyk could get Kyle Shanahan's head straight, but that happened in two straight playoff games.